This time I will be reviewing Persona 5 Royal. Also, before we really get the ball rolling for this video, I have to say there may be a few spoilers here and there gameplay wise, but I won't give away anything that would ruin the game for you that you haven't had the opportunity to play, and the main gameplay used is within the first hour or so. Now, if you've never played Persona 5, the story is about our main character who ends up on probation due to an issue, and along the way he discovers that he has these powers, and without giving very huge details away, it leads him down the road of forming the Phantom Thieves, who go on and steal evil people's hearts. It's also a life sim, where you enjoy your everyday life with friends, doing schoolwork, doing a job, etc, etc. Now for Royal, there are a few changes this time around compared to the original game, mostly to do with the story, but nothing out there that I think I should devote much time to. I will say that there are a few changes to the story that are better. However, the more notable changes to the story was the addition of the semi-playable third semester. The reason why I say semi is because you play a part of the third semester, but not the whole thing entirely. The third semester actually really took me for a surprise because I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I ended up doing so. It really pushed the Phantom Thieves into contemplating who they really are as a group, but also if they should just roll over and accept things as they are, because the main enemy of the third semester is a lot more different than their past enemies, in the sense that they aren't actually fully bad compared to the others who are downright messed up one way or another. I also would like to say that I think the new semester is probably my favorite part of Persona 5 as a whole. Not only because of what I said that it really pushes the boundaries of the team's morals, but because of the interactions with the group and their outlooks on the situation. But I want to save that part when I get to the character selection of this review. Now, even though I do like the story of Persona 5 Royal, I have to say I do have two pretty big issues. One is an old issue I had with the original Persona 5, and there's a new one that I have that's included in Royal. The old issue I have that is still in Royal is the long opening act of the game. I get it, you gotta show us the people playing your game, how it works, while also trying to explain us the certain mechanics of how things are done. I get that. However, I feel like they spent a little bit too long on this section of the story and game. I don't really know how you could change it, because it's not like it's downright a game breaker or something horrible. It's just the pacing is slow, and I think that may be a bad first impression for a lot of people who haven't played the game before. Now, the new issue I have is actually the new ending. I also would like to say this is in reference to the good ending. In the original Persona 5, it was plain as day that this is the end of the crazy yet amazing roller coaster ride of a journey. It tied everything up nice and tight, and that's it. This was the end. Now, Royal's ending, on the other hand, almost leaves room for more to be added. And if you couldn't tell, yes, the ending of Royal is different from the vanilla game. The changes Royal made to the end left me with a lot of mixed feelings, because not only did it cut off some of the best parts of the original Persona 5 ending, such as the goodbyes, that I thought were very well done the first time around, but it left this last 30 seconds of the Royal ending just made me feel like there was going to be more to be added, and left us on a cliffhanger of sorts. Again, this isn't something that is a game breaker, but more on the lines of something that didn't really need to be changed or messed with at this point in time, because it was already done very well the first time around. Now, the next part I would like to talk about is the gameplay. Just like with the story, there are a few welcoming changes to the gameplay. The quality of life changes made are amazing, and I'm really glad that they made them. Let's take one of my more favorite changes, and that's the gun system in palaces. The original Persona 5, I felt the gun attacks were basically useless, because once you emptied your clip, you can't use your gun anymore. However, in hindsight, it does make sense, but once you think about how many enemies on average are in a palace, then you really had to pick the best moments to use your gun attacks so you don't end up wasting them. But in Royal, your ammunition now refills after every battle, and I'm so glad it does. This change honestly made me want to upgrade my team's guns, but I also got rid of that constant thought in the back of my head of should I just save some ammo just in case, because I may have to use it on the next enemy. There are also a few things done to the baton pass that are interesting. The baton pass in the OG game was made just to keep hitting enemies' weaknesses and make the next attack stronger. But in Royal, the baton pass can now restore some HP and SP to your character if you're passing it to them. However, this is also tied in with a new area of the game. I'm probably going to mess the name of this up, but Kichijochi is a new area of the game that adds a good amount of new activities you can do with your teammates, from the jazz club all the way to darts and billiards game room. The darts and billiards game room is where you can upgrade the new baton pass and make it stronger for yourself and teammates. There are a few new characters that are also added as well. However, even though they are new elements to the game, I'm not going to be talking about them because it's borderline spoilers of what they bring gameplay wise. So yeah, I don't want to ruin that for y'all. Then one of the new things that was added that I really did like was the Thieves' Den. It's basically a place where you can buy collectibles that you've seen throughout the game and just display them for all to see. Just like the story elements that were added, I like the new gameplay elements as well, and I think they do make the game more enjoyable. However, there is a downside to this. I do think that a good amount of these changes make this game a lot more easier. Now, for full transparency, I played my first playthrough on normal. Now, if I get some more time for myself, I may come back and play on a harder difficulty, but for now, I'm basing this off my normal playthrough run. Now, I'm not saying that they need to get rid of all the new gameplay elements added, because like I said earlier, they are welcoming and good gameplay changes. It's just, once you stack them all up with each other, the game is somewhat easier, at least with my experience. Now, a good amount of the core gameplay from the original game is still there. You're still battling using personas, you can fuse them. However, there is now an alarm fusion that you can make a persona you fuse get better skills, but it's more of a roll of the dice and see. All in all, my first playthrough of Persona 5 Royal was about 104 hours. I put a lot of time into it, and I don't think I would have ended up putting this much time if I didn't like it. Now let's talk about my favorite section, the characters. My opinion hasn't changed much at all since the first time I reviewed this game. I still love all of them, and each of their personalities are amazing, and I just love seeing how this group grows up throughout the journey. Now, there isn't any individual character stories that have changed since the first game. However, the third semester does add a part where characters who you've maxed out their confidant rank, they just need to get something off their chest. And this little bit makes me end up liking them a lot more than I originally did. It made me remember that these characters have gone through a lot for their ages, and seeing them understand their faults and accepting that they need to take on the world was a bittersweet moment to see. I won't go into much detail about them, however I did like the new characters a lot, and a lot more than I thought I would. Whenever something new or changes are made, I always wait to see how things are played out, because on paper these changes sound nice and good, but the execution could be a problem. However, like all the new changes so far, they're very good, and I'm really glad that they implemented them. It's almost like it's a recurring theme with the new changes, huh? The Persona 5 Royal cast is still as wonderful as the base game, and adds new characters that just end up making me enjoy the journey a lot more. I still love all these characters a lot to this day, and when I think of Persona 5, I think of all the wonderful characters, because that is the biggest and best impression I got from the game. Now, the final piece I want to talk about is the sound of this game, which is like the voice acting and music. Now, I still feel that voice acting, when it's done, still holds up pretty well to this day. It's nothing that blows you away, but it's good enough to make you enjoy the moments when it really matters. Now, the OST, on the other hand, is a different story. I still love this OST a ton to this day, and the new songs added are just as wonderful. It just makes this whole soundtrack a lot more better. The sounds of Persona 5 Royal are still good, and the new additions are as great. The sounds of Persona 5 Royal are still good, and the new additions just make it more better. Now, I have been pretty positive about this game throughout this whole review, and because a lot of these new features are good and make the game more enjoyable than the first time around. However, this is the big issue at the end of the day. I can't really justify the price tag if you have played the original Persona 5 game. If you haven't played the original Persona 5, then do yourself a favor and buy Persona 5 Royal. It's well worth the money, and it's all around a great and wonderful game that I think a lot of people will enjoy and like. And hell, it may even be one of your favorites at the end of the day. And it's clearly the better version of the game. Now, if you have beaten the original Persona 5 and are thinking about paying $60 for Royal, I think you should wait for that price tag to drop a bit. The reason is, yes, I love the new features added, and I'm really glad that they put them in. It brought extra parts to the story that are great, wonderful new characters, and even fixed up new gameplay elements that I didn't know was going to get fixed, but just made the game more better. However, these new parts are so spread out from one another that you don't really get to experience most of this new stuff to the very end of the game. And I really do hate to say it, but it's almost like this is a DLC that was meant for Persona 5. I did love my journey in Royal. I got to re-experience one of my favorite games yet again, and I ended up loving all the new things that were added in. However, for me to recommend it to you, the consumer, really just depends if you have played it or if you haven't yet, based off the original game. This is the end of the video, and I hope you all enjoy this review. I hope you all have a great and safe rest of your day.